Hi, this is Athena StarSeed. This is a series called Raising Reverence, and I'm at Leigh McCloskey's house. And I just had this incredible conversation with him. I wish I had recorded it, but here we are right now. And we are in the downstairs, which he considers this like amazing event space, art gallery, living area, domestic portal of possibilities to love and transcendence. The paternal space, the father space, the foundational space. And I'm going to be following him upstairs to the feminine aspect, the feminine space, which is more in color and has a lot more, creative magic. And the watchers, oh my gosh, I have to just show you this. I'm going to have to walk backwards because this is how we enter this incredible portal, okay? And then here, I'm going to remove my shoes. And then look at this. As we're going up, you see this beautiful watcher right here. Oh my gosh, I have to get this side too. Look at this. Oh my God, this is gorgeous. This whole house is so amazing. Okay, now I'm walking up these beautiful wooden steps, and there's this large, shadowy energy figure right here that's been infiltrating his art and his dreams. And as we continue to walk up and ascend, we're entering his imagination. That's exactly happening. We're entering his imagination, and on the floor, it's almost like a three-dimensional swimming art, extravaganza. It's just absolutely brilliant. I'm gonna walk over here. Oh my gosh. This is so incredible. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking and let him talk, but I'm going to stand next to him. Okay, where are we going to go first?
Well, why don't we begin
okay.
here with Sophia. Begin with the mother. It's a very good place to begin. But Sophia and the story of the hieroglyph of the human soul. This is, to make a long story short, the story of the return to the painted cave and the truth that we're the technology. And what changes us is the realization that story, who we think we are, is what creates the conditions that allows us to change. And that's why this is my home. And it's a library, because the library says, I love all of my books. That's why this is the mother. And you see here the flower on her chest here. Do you see?
Yes.
And she's going to say, I remind you that you are here to blossom. And just like a library, I love all of my books, all of my children. I'm the knowledge of your atoms, and that there are no evil atoms. If you don't like your stories, tell better stories.
I love that. There are no evil stories. They're just books.
Exactly.
The mother loves all her children.
Exactly. And that's why this journey, as we move up into the story, and if we just sort of slowly turn, we'll see that this, well, I'd love to just say it's a conversation I was not expecting to have, but delighted that I have been having it. And it's the story of the hieroglyph of the human soul, the story of the journey into the mirror of self-reflection. And like Dorothy, the realization that when we get stuck looking and not being able to touch those we love, because in reflection we see ourselves, but we see ourselves not able to touch one another. So what happens to Dorothy, remember? Close your eyes. Turn around, and here we do that. We close our eyes, we turn around, and we're in the library. So
beautiful. So beautiful.
Yes. And that's what this is trying to say. We have to remember, in this painted cave, we left a very long time ago with the question, what does it mean to be human? And like the spin of an electron, we went across the ages asking over and over again, what does it mean to be human? And that's where finally we come home to see that ascension is that across the ages, we've gathered a story that brings us to this journey of this eye of wonder, that we're home, and that when we understand art and music and creativity and love, it's not at the expense of each other. It's there to say, I'm here for you. I'll watch your back, and you'll watch mine. And you know what? Together we'll go places neither of us could imagine.
It's an ensemble, people. It's an ensemble.
It is an ensemble, and that's the key here as well. So that's the journey. Except I should show you one more thing. We can.
One more thing. There's like a million things in here.
Just actually, I'll send you over around here.
Oh my God, this is all new. This wasn't here.
This is all new.
This was a wall.
And so rather than me talking about this, just take this journey of the blossom and the DNA And then come around the corner here.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, I just have to explain this. Okay, so these are his tarot cards, which I am going to purchase. Okay, and is it LeighMcCloskey.com?
LeighMcCloskey.com. Yes,
LeighMcCloskey.com.
these are actually my mandala cards.
Oh, these aren't these are the back of the tarot?
These are the ones that are this painting right here. These are the cards of my painting.
Oh, that's right. That's the Phoenix, right?
That's the Phoenix Arise.
Okay, but you can buy this. Can you buy
Yes.
these
Oh,
on
yes.
your website?
Yes.
I'm going to put a link at the bottom. Please support this. He's a genius. He's a genius of our time. I want you to support this artist and buy the tarot cards, buy these cards, and also too the book, the Codex. Am I right?
Codex Tour. Yes,
Yes.
those are my Codex Tour illuminated books, which I spent a mere 24 years creating. But it's a love affair that at the end of the day has told me what art has always told us, which is we want to inspire, not instruct. We don't want to tell anyone what's wrong with them. We want to remind them that they're much more interesting than we think. So that's really what the mandala, the blossom.
I love you.
You know?
You're so. You okay? Listen, I struggle with judgment. Okay, so and I'm trying to let go of my judgment. And when I listen to his videos and his, his wisdom, I just want to throw judgment away and play the fool and dance and sing and act again.
Well, and isn't that what we should do? We're all exhausted with trying so hard to convince people who will never be interested that they should be. So I've gotten to the key of saying, don't look to those people, look to the people like ourselves.
Exactly.
Say, you know what, are
exactly.
you interested in this? I am, and you are. That's a beginning.
It's
and
enough.
that's where we move beyond judgment and we move to nourishing conversation again. True philosophia, the love of wisdom. And wisdom is shared by all. It's like good jazz. You lean into the mistakes because there's no mistakes in art.
That's
there's
right.
No mistakes in
Bends
life, right?
and twists and yeah.
No. So over this will bring you over here to Mothership, Revelations in Pink.
Oh
and
my
just walk
goodness.
into. She's so beautiful.
Yeah, you started this. It was outside on a porch when I came
Exactly.
here. And you made an addition.
And love her story. She said, "My crown are not jewels, but tears. That as you return home, you'll realize that the story of abandonment, the story of loss, the tears of the human journey are in all of us. And to know who we are," she says, "you must see through the eyes of the mother because I love all of my children."
I love all of my children. I love all of my children.
Yeah. And her Revelations in Pink, she said, enough of the ones in black and white. There's a good guy and bad guy, and let me guess, you're the good guy. Enough of that. Your mom's not impressed with who you hate.
Exactly. So this is amazing. So this is the Watcher. She's coming out of the Watcher.
Yeah, this really came from the orb. I wanted to know what the orbs I was photographing, and she tells a beautiful story that says, "I'm the great mother. I remind you in male and female form that the apple, the gift of life, is the gift of my absolute generosity. You're born of absolute generosity. But your being is woven of the infinite generosity of universes and the knowledge of your atoms. Your father, Adam is the knowledge of your form. I'm matter, mother. I'm the weave of all worlds. So to know who you are," she said, "you must see through my eyes because I love all of my children.
All of my children.
I love all of my atoms.
children.
There are no evil atoms." Think about that in the atomic body, right? Pull out your evil atoms, she should tell me. And I said, I guess that's a wrong question. And that's where the vision of the ancestors and of the chalice and of the blood, the story that through the mother we are born in male and female form, and finally your hips show the head of the hummingbird and here its beak, and now we see the wings. And like the hummingbird, we're learning to achieve stillness while in motion. But think of a gyroscope. Think of the tarot like a gyroscopic wheel saying, once you can hold all of the qualities of who and what you are and not be swept away by any of them, like a gyroscope, then you can give yourself passionately to the story and not be undone by it, but actually be oxygenated by it. You're able to breathe,
Yes. And tell me about this gorgeous portal right there.
Well, that's exactly, if you think about everything in this story is saying that we didn't come from not knowing, we came from vast knowing, we came from vision. And you think of the pupil of the eye. And in this story is that from vision, we entered into the story of the atoms, meaning we took on a body that entered into the library. And
So this is where we start from the nowhere?
Yes, you say that to begin, and do you see how when one stands here, you really are in the pupil of the eye. And I do feel that a lot of this is really telling us that we are the outcome of billions of years. That for us to be talking like this is not, in a sense, just normal as we think of it. It's extraordinary. because we exist in what we consider to be ordinary worlds. But we came from worlds where it was always golden, and now this story is really beautiful because it's saying that through the generosity of Mater, Mater, Mother, we, millions of years ago, took an adventure as a much higher or greater consciousness, what we would think of as a consciousness that exists at the speed of light. We took on an atom body, meaning that we took on an adventure. Think about the DNA that couldn't know who it was until over and over again it dove into the questions. Ever since the painted cave, what does it mean to be human?
Here's the little baby right here. I'm just going to go into this little baby. Can you guys see this little baby? The little baby took on a form and came down through the Divine Mother. Everyone is born of woman.
And everyone born of the living waters. And think of this, the moment here, we're standing on the edge of forever, and we dive into the depths of the human desire to tell a story that isn't just one of us, but the story of the outcome of all of us. And this is why this becomes the story of the living library.
And there's a huge yoni over there. So is that like another portal?
Exactly. This is really the birth, because the whole journey of the yoni, of the transformation, let's say, of light through the eye into vision, or through the larynx air into sound, this is always about the qualities of birth, and conditions are we are born from one condition, whole and holy.
Wow.
Isn't that beautiful?
Whole, holy, and complete.
Whole and holy. That's why when we do this, you see, that when man and woman honor each other,
That makes the yoni.
because that is also then the quality of flow.
Oh my
Do you
God.
see how important that is?
So poetic.
Because the flow then in this is, we start to see how with Newt, we see this great journey that does begin with not self-reflection, but essence. And the story that we turn, you see, we begin a dance that turns into the DNA. We desire to return, and in the story we can't. So we fall like a wave into a story that finally comes home after millions of years, saying that only art could reveal this, because art is creation. It's love.
Creation.
Art is the act of devotion, not of illustration, not of proof. You can't prove anything with love. You can grow everything with love. But love asks to be used as that which frees, not that which chastises.
Talk about this couch.
Ah,
Talk about that multi-dimensional couch.
yes, well, this multidimensional couch, and we can go into it more deeply later, but just as you'll see that actually everything here
Oh my goodness.
is painted within painting.
Oh, this is incredible.
And if you pan this way, you see under the pillar, there you'll see Eve and her story of the journey of the light of mind. But if you
Is she the chalice?
exactly, and think of where the chalice is. Do you see over this?
Did you? I mean, this is just, it was a lampstand, and you
It was a
started
lamp.
painting
I
it.
started painting
and
it.
it just.
But if you
started
want to
talking
know what the story is, think of this.
Yes.
We are born with this eye open, this sense of wonder.
Right.
We enter this way. And we stand up in these eyes, a form set in duality. But here we return. Now I love that here we have the love affair once again. She says, you want to know me? Hug me. Want to know me more deeply? Hug me more closely.
Does she look like your wife? Does everybody look
You
like
know,
your wife?
it's very interesting.
Because Carla.
Elements of my wife, my mother, all the women, but Carla has a lot of, of course, my muse. So,
Yes,
so.
I could imagine.
But the
So
great
beautiful.
quality here, if you think about, is we finally stand in relationship upright. So we're not looking with these eyes. We're holding the story of duality, but finally our greater mind, our greater sense of wonder. And I've got to say, hers is, she says, I'm Mater, Mater, Mother. I'm the knowledge of the delight of mind. Because in the delight of mind, it loves all the stories, not just the ones you're looking at.
Right.
So.
I love that the library analogy, that it's so inclusive. So say that again to anybody who questions duality, that it gets into multiplicity.
The point here is that, and if we think about it as a philosophical point, think about a condition of humanity that couldn't know who it was until it realized why it had done what it had done. And that's the story of the library, meaning that the question of what does it mean to be human had to be asked in all of its ages, all of its stories, because we had to know what it meant to be Byzantine, Egyptian, to be Hittite, to be Amazonian, meaning that like the spin of an electron, we were gathering a resource, a genetic code that would be woven, as we know from science now, this is true, woven of all of this memory, all of these stories, so that when we return now, as we do to the library, think about being fixated in the book of your life. You're trying to resolve everything within the covers and conditions of your story. And so you're trying to fix all of those things, and you can't know what it is until you step back from the books. Right. And say, oh, I'm part of an enormous story. I have all of this resource because I'm part of this great human heroic tradition that willingly steps into the question, lives the question, doesn't avoid the difficulty, and at the end of the day realizes, like a great ensemble cast, we needed each other.
We needed each other. We needed each other. It's so beautiful.
And that is why we are artists of consciousness, not to be painters or poets, but to step into the mystery and to trust that we'll be mentored by it, to ask questions and to trust our curiosity. That is the medicine of the age. As a poet knows, you can't convince the multitudes with your poetry. Nobody cares about poetry. But the creative
I love
spirit
poetry.
exactly, because the creative spirit loves poetry, meaning that sense of be intimate with me. Stop trying to shout at the waves. They're noisier than you. So turn to the flower and have a moment and take that poem that nobody listened to and tell the flower that story. All of nature will hear you, and to me, that's a good beginning.
It's so magnificent. Can we go to the tarot on the floor?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I read tarot cards, and this is just so exciting for me to see all this.
This is the wheel. You can see it's glued. I've glued down all of my original drawings as cards. I made them into a tarot deck, which is actually, I have it here. These are the cards. What is important, though, is much of what we're looking at is about trusting structure. A bit like if I'm working with actors, I want you to trust the play. I want you to trust the structure of the character. And that's what the tarot really helps us understand. It says, like Shakespeare, you're composed of all of these characters, like the keys of a piano. And if you understand that really the keys of a piano are what allow us to trust the instrument of the psyche, that all of the characters are not looking for our judgment. In a sense, saying the devil is rather obvious. Of course the devil's always there. It's always part of the story of our mythic journey.
What's the lesson of the devil?
Actually, you know what the lesson of the devil is the adversary, the tempter and the redeemer. Meaning that when you say you are going to do something, I'm going to test your foundation. Meaning that until you, through your own will and effort, create a foundation with which to build the house not of belief, but the house of manifestation, because it's about manifestation, I will torment you. But once you follow the rules of material law, meaning that you don't try to use my devilish tendencies to get out of something, and therefore you make a pact, which is not a good idea.
Don't get into Faustus.
Yeah. And that's why, but in my writing, the way to deal with the devil is mirth. It's about laughter. That our devils become far too serious, and the devil says, you've got to learn to laugh. It's your beliefs, your need for things to be true is what attaches you to the devil in your psyche, because in a way I'm teaching you to let go. You will have to let go. So I'm called the dweller at the threshold, the tempter, and this is what he would say, meaning that my character in the play is I don't change. I pull the hero out of you because I force you to change.
Oh my God, I love that. The devil pulls the hero out of us.
Yeah, and that's why in the world, when we see these qualities, don't think of as fixing that problem. That's to misunderstand the myth. Ooh. It's actually to say, I see the problem, how do I navigate it? And that's where the devil says, now you're becoming wise. You're knowing what to pay attention to. Because in the inverted world, you're taught to pay attention to that which distracts. And
yes.
You see? And I want to, through trial and error, teach you what to pay attention to.
Okay, so that leads me to the magician and the magus. Can you describe the difference between those two?
Well, the magus, it's very interesting because this is my card, my drawing. You see the seed. Do you see the seed here?
Yeah.
Now, this is an important story, as above, so below, but it's the seed of planting a living idea. That much of our intellectual tradition, much of our storytelling is like the magician. I can create an optical illusion. I'll convince you you're seeing something you're not. That is one of the problems with the ego, is we create optical illusions for ourselves. We go quickly, we try to get away from ourselves. We use our mental energy. And that's why this being a seed, a magus, is the story of the gardener, finally saying that if you ask questions of life, not of fear, And if you ask them within the intimate setting of your subjective heart, what means to you what is sacred, what means for you that which gives you a sense of, at least here it matters, the Mega says plant that seed there. Because from that intention will grow with the living, like any seed, it will go through cycles and times, but it will grow from the conditions of life itself, a living expression. Do you know, you would say that any creative process is that way, right? You plant a seed, you don't know what it's going to be. And the gestational process is all the confusion, all this, but it's actually layering itself. So finally, it wasn't what we thought it would be. It's allowed to become what it was always meant to be through us. Do you understand?
So when a soul incarnates, do they go through all of the tarot keys?
Yes, that's actually one of the keys here, is that if we see the structure, we begin to understand the wheel, and we begin to understand the nature of the seasons, meaning that as we go from winter, spring, summer, and fall, we go in terms of air, earth, fire, and water, the elements, the quadrants. Why this is important is it helps us understand the developmental aspects of the psyche, meaning that we spend the first, if we think of it numerologically, the first 28 years of our lives creating the psychological structure, the instrument that finally allows us for the next 28 years to navigate the mind. And then after that, the next 28 years they call the wisdom, which is actually the applying of these qualities. And so the tarot, though, helps us understand the pattern, the nature of how these keys hold these different qualities that once they are activated as a creative act, they are living characters within us.
Is this 22 right here?
This is actually number of cards, or?
Yeah, 20. Are these the major arcana?
This is the major arcana. These are 21. In the major arcana, there are 21 numbered cards. These are numbered cards, and
that's
this
the
is the Fool, which I can either have or not have. Do you see either part of it or not have it? And what's important in this is that we usually think of a wheel going this way, which it is, but also we're moving from the Megas to the High Priestess, to the Empress, to the Emperor, to the... And
so we're doing sacred geometry.
Do you see the diamond that's being created by this relationship? Think of this as the physics of coherence, meaning that once we realize that it's not siding with any one particular thing, then we start to create a process where the electron essentially is able to, within the circle, create an amplifying space rather than a dissipating space. If you think of an amplifying space, you'd say we see this in theater when, let's say, when they step into the music or they step into the dance, it goes into an amplified state. This is actually the engines of consciousness. This is what this is actually bringing us back to. So,
this is incredible. This is so incredible.
It has much to mentor us with. I mean, I really do feel that everything here is saying that it's now getting into the operating system. We all know enough. So it's trusting the tuning forks, trusting...
So these are tuning forks.
Yes.
Every key is a tuning fork.
And if you think of it that way, then we're understanding that it is an instrument. It's not a belief system. And that in an instrument, you're trying to understand the relationships that allow you to navigate with that instrument. And that's why the structure of the archetypal or the mythic helps us in our own world and its chaos begin to understand what to pay attention to as, in a sense, real, and then what's the reoccurrence of these mythic themes over and over, of good and evil, in a sense, the waves that form, that if you believe in the wave, you try and change that. But if you realize the wave is actually the energy that says, navigate that, and that's where the resources of the books and history help, do you see? The archetypes help, because they set up a type of gyroscopic support system, meaning an energy that we don't fall into. We allow ourselves to.
Now, would you say that tarot, because traditionally, usually there's like an upright and an upside down position. Mm-hmm. Do you use that in your own navigation, or do you just say there's so much in each card you could sit in infinity just in one card?
Yeah, because I really feel that within every archetype is its polarity. That's the key, is that we understand that in terms of a negative or a positive reading, or in a sense an unconscious or a conscious reading, I think for anyone reading with the cards, if that makes sense to them, I'd follow it. I wouldn't say don't do it, but for me, that doesn't have much relevance, because I'm really trying to get much more into having a conversation with these inner archetypal structures so that they can help us, in a sense, relax our own wiring. Do you know, in a way, because we have to be, and I think this is why this is so creative, we have to be those beings that say, I can't expect to cultivate a great performance, or if I don't give myself permission to trust what can't be known unless I dive into this character, into this music, into this. And that's what all of this is getting at. These are creative tools because they're saying that now we can trust the imagination.
Would you recommend that people express, like sometimes when you're in acting class, they'll have you like do different monologues, like you'll play Richard III or that you'll play Lady Macbeth to experience your darker nature. So would you do that kind of work with this deck?
Well, absolutely, because once you understand that play like a child, right? You can put on the mask, I am the dark, and you're not really, because it's when we believe those things that we become swept away by them. Do you see? It's like an archetype takes over the individual. And that's why I use theater as the key. If you know you're playing a role, then you're not going to say, oh, I am the devil, or I'm Christ. You're going to say, I'm playing Christ, or I'm playing the devil. And when I do, I allow those energies, whatever my imagination, my energy body feels those to be, which would be different than yours, but as we know from performance, that the truth of a performance is not based on conformity, but on that individual. Like you hear two different singers sing the same song, it's a different song, and they're both just as beautiful, but differently. This is the key to archetype. You think of a generous space, right, that doesn't want to be one of us, like a religion, saying, oh, you're the one, and therefore, that's the problem is oftentimes these energies people identify with, and they, in a way, try to stay in those energies. And that's why much of this is taking us back to theater, which is, as an actor, you
Taking
play,
on and off costumes.
Yeah, you play evil and good. Do you know, because you understand.
And also, too, you play good inside of evil because Richard III had a mother that loved him. You have to at least play
and you'd say
endearing.
the most layered characters are the tormented ones that are neither good nor evil. In a sense, their acts are you could attribute to the confusion of the human condition, that we could attribute as evil. But this is why we have the tools to explore the nature of consciousness, but we have to use theater tools. We have to use the operating system of the archetypal structure of the tarot, begin to understand the nature of the mandala, of art.
Oh, the mandala. This is also a mandala. Look at this.
Exactly. It's wheels and wheels within wheels.
And a square. You're in a portal there within a wheel.
Do you see?
Within a square, within a wheel. And you have the cross here, too. Exactly. And the spiral.
Do you see the four direct? And
the Fibonacci sequence?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. And phi. Looks like you have all kinds of things in there.
Exactly. Because this is what we're growing up out of and as composed of. And that's why the offloading is important. It's saying we've translated all of this once great Akashic ancient knowledge into human story. And this is a ranch-style home. It's painted on linoleum.
Oh my God.
And I'm convinced it's the human scale that this is talking about, that the last part of the story is, what do we do with the human scale when we realize we're linoleum and not gold? And it says, guess what, your home, it wasn't to be golden. That was the old days of fighting dragons. Now you're fighting low self-esteem. So what do you do with the linoleum? What do you do with the ordinary? And what if it turns out to be a gift? Because you'd say every artist that didn't get rewarded in their life, usually, they painted because they had to paint. They needed to express that love, like Van Gogh, just because I had to express that love, not for an outcome. And to me, that's everyone's home, right?
Oh.
You'd love to say my home has an outcome, but it's just, I just want to live tomorrow and be together with you and be with the kids. And I kind of feel like that's why this all was based on 9/11.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, 9/11 was, we fell off our false erections of money and God onto our knees. We fell off the scaffolding of shouting at popes and kings and onto our knees, and we looked at our wife and our children, and we said, I got to tell you, it's your love that healed me. It brought me home, and at the end of the day, I don't want transformation to take me away from anything.
You wanted to bring me closer.
I wanted to bring it closer, yeah.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. All right, so all right, I'm gonna stop this clip. This was amazing, and just say your website again.
LeighMcCloskey.com. That's Leigh, McCloskey, MCCLOSKEY.
And you have a YouTube channel too with
I
the
do,
same
yes,
name.
Leigh McCloskey YouTube channel, and there are lots of marvelous conversations because this house.
I've already watched them for like just 48 hours straight. Like, please go watch the YouTube channel. Subscribe. I subscribed. It is phenomenal information. And if you want to know who you are, these are the questions and the thought forms that drive you inward.
You're much more interesting than you think. That's the whole key. Is that it's not something you're not missing anything. You're not the outcome of a problem. You're actually being reminded that by opening to the possibility that you are more than you think. Think of taking a big breath, and suddenly that breath makes, yeah, I'm not so depressed. I don't have that feeling of anxiety so much. You see, we start to breathe into a different condition. And that condition says you couldn't get here by snapping your fingers any more than you can go from a depression to happiness unless you go mad. It leaves you.
It leaves
and
you.
as the storm leaves you, as the depression leaves you, it's a rebirth, a reawakening. Suddenly it's like, I feel alive again.
So what's the first, this could be intimidating if you've never even colored anything with crayons, but what's the first step to liberation in artistic expression if you're just totally locked up?
Finger painting. I do this with my chia painting class. I do a chia painting, meaning the energy of painting, which is not about, it's a yoga. I say, I don't care how talented you are. If you don't like to paint, you're not going to paint. So the point is, you have to, first of all, enjoy what you do. And we get so distanced from our hands. And so I get people on their hands, and I get them lionesses and lions, say, you're in your body over the paper. So we start to get our bodies alive. Because the last part, and we don't know this, but most people think that painting is optical, it's illustration. The last part of a painting is optical. It rises through us, through a process, and if it's any good, it surprises the artist, just like your children do. You think, how can you be so beautiful? And it says, well, you spent enough time with me. You loved me enough, and you got out of your way long enough. Look at what happened. And that's why I feel the artists from all the ages are going, yeah, we never lived through any of this, so while you're here, take the chance, because my philosophy is it couldn't hurt. It's like, well, why, Leigh? And I think, well, why not? And if people say, who says? Say, I do, and that's enough for me.
It's when I have clients and I read for them, I say to them, the solution to depression is creation.
It is. And that's why, think of even the breath in the hands. Our first desire was never to paint, it was to commune. Why? The first thing in Ayers Rock, we had put our hand on the cave wall to touch the ancient beloved. Think of it as a love affair, a place of communion. Think of intimacy as a human being. You want to hold a place intimately, because there, for all the chaos of all the universes, even if only momentarily, you feel the center of everything.
What else is there?
Yeah.
What else is there? All right. Well, this is Athena StarSeed. We have surely raised the reverence, and this is Leigh McCloskey, and this is like so amazing. So once again, if you like this channel, please subscribe. Please subscribe to his YouTube channel. Buy the tarot deck. I'm buying the tarot deck and the Codex book tonight, and possibly even those other cards too that make these beautiful mandalas. Thank you so much for this beautiful interview.
Thank you so much. Bless you.
Okay, and hopefully, I really want to inspire him to go to Broadway and do an entire play with 2 acts on the tarot.
You're very inspiring, and she has set a seed in motion.
So if you watch this video, and if you actually would like to back this show, please get a hold of him or me, and let's get him some money so he can go straight to Broadway and produce this.
Artists do things with love, and we need finance.
Exactly. So if you love this and you'd like to see this on Broadway, like I would, please let's sponsor him. Okay, blessings. Stay tuned.
Bye-bye.